My name is Lenka Kleger, and I work in the Globe Regional Coordination Office for Europe and Eurasia. In the office, we coordinate the spring and autumn phenology campaign for Europe, together with my colleagues Dana Votápková and Bára Semeráková, who are here as well today. And this webinar is organized within the phenology campaign, but it's also a part of international project Young Scientists for the Central Europe, which is funded by a Visegrad Fund. We also organize webinars together with our colleagues from Trees Around the Globe team and from NASA, who actually, I think they should join today. I'm not sure if they have already done so. So if I only don't see them, then greetings to them. Maybe not all of you are familiar with the phenology campaign, so I will just very briefly introduce what the phenology campaign is. We have been doing this campaign in Europe already for 5 years, and during this campaign we already each spring and each autumn we observe how trees are greening up, how leaves are growing and unfolding, and in autumn how trees are changing color and falling down. The aim of the campaign is to learn about seasonal changes of trees and to do it actually outside in the nature, not only by the computers, if possible, if COVID situation allows now. It is also an opportunity for schools to meet other schools in an international environment. So we have a collaboration group where schools work together in bigger groups and exchange results and pictures, for example. And it's also an opportunity to collect data for a school research, but also for a research of scientists. So the data that schools collect within the campaign are being used by scientists in different countries of the world. Newly in last year and this year, we started with activities that are focused on carbon cycle and also with activity where we try to measure the tree height. So I will share you a link to the campaign website so you can learn more about the campaign if you don't know it, and if you are new to the campaign and if you are interested, so you can see more on the campaign website. When it comes to today's webinar, it will be a meeting with scientists where you will hear 2 presentations. The first one will be about the importance of trees in urban environment and about the way how we can help trees to grow in trees and how to protect them. The second one will allow us to look at trees from a bit bigger distance by using remote sensing and Sentinel Hub tool. We will also take this opportunity to introduce you the 2021 Community Trees Challenge called Science is Better Together, which will be introduced afterwards by Bára. As I mentioned, there will be time for questions after each of the presentations, and there will be also more time for questions, like a general ones about the campaign at the end of the webinar. So this is all from me. If there's any question now about the webinar, please let me know. Okay. So if not, I would give word to Michal Plundra, who is our first speaker. Michal is an ecologist and expert on gardening, who also have a great experience with teaching kids, with working with kids, teaching them about nature and about ecology. And he will introduce us the topic of taking care of trees and planting trees in urban environment.
Okay, thank you. Sharing, fine. Hello, my name is Michal Plundra, and my task is to tell you a few words about trees in an urban environment from a point of view of the gardener. Because I'm a gardener, first step, and now first year I'm teaching biology on a Montessori school, and a few years ago I cooperated with program in Teresa to make a school garden better together with child. Be a really nice and fun project. Trees in urban environment have a lot of function. The first one is aesthetic. I mean, maybe someone else has it different, but I will never say that tree is ugly. In contrary, I often have a bigger problem with human creation and building in a city. Furthermore, trees have a hygienic function. Trees purify the air. Furthermore, to capture the dust, they increase the humidity of air, they lower the noise and regulate the temperature of urban environment. But the city is an extremely urban environment for most tree species. From the point of view of climate or ever city space, not everywhere there is a place for trees, and the space is usually limited, so it may not be enough for every tree. On picture is a horrible situation when people mean it's necessary to have a space and destroy the tree and mean it's good for tree. It's horrible, I mean. So, do ask that trees can do for you as when you can do for the trees in your area. I mean, pay attention to public space and the trees in it. Most investors and officials feel that the trees are the first thing which can be destroyed when the city develops. In Czech Republic, we some law want to protect the trees in a city, but sometimes many make a true and final world. You can participate in a creation a greenery in a city. I cooperate on several projects where the city management bought a tree and they plant trees together with citizens. It was a great event happening. People have found a relationship with trees. The child planted a tree. It is their tree, and they guard and care for. They grow with them. I mean, it is not just something to hit or kick. A common problems in the street is not only the damage for trees themselves, but also the soil around them. In a picture above, the child and teachers from a local school planting the trees in the street. They found that trees with the flowers and herbs around them are better protected and better grow. A beautiful place was created on other boring street. I met this project last year, and I mean it's different. It's not from gardener. It's from official gardener. It's much more better. And I spoke with some lady there, and she told me, yeah, we do it with a child and much more better. When you get the funds get to plant trees on your own, consult with the expert gardeners and ecologists. They are not how to plant too, so that you do not do more hard than good. Because in Europe, especially, is many places where is unforest origin species. No, sorry, my English is so horrible. Space without forest, when is typical for this the land, it's sometimes better that forest what can be there when you growing forest there. Oh, all right, sorry. When chose the right trees for the habitat, plants the right time and provide the plants with appropriate protection, so your works bears a fruit. Especially in first years, trees need to be cared for, especially watering or treat. If you are open to somewhat little bit punk activity, they are called a Guerrilla Gardening initiative. It means that you can make the city greener for your own. We search with the child for neglected empty spaces in the city center and plant plants there. We put rosemary and a site with a poem about rosemary on a bridge. And we had a lot of fun and made the city a little bit nicer and greener. Somewhere in the future, there may be dead trees. Nature, however, it is never the end, but the beginning of something else. Dead trees are often disposed of and removed waste. Woodland tortoises are great home for a variety of life and can be used for nesting birds, home of beetles, or as a natural playground for child. Same like even dying trees. They are not dangerous to their surrounding can remain standing. They also belong to nature. They are home to such beautiful creation as in a picture, for example. So thank you for your attention and let your path be lined with the trees. And sorry, my horrible English.
Thank you very much, Michal. Thank you. Myself, I actually really like the idea that that you mentioned, that it's us who can change our environment, who can plant the trees or plant the flowers in the cities. That it's us and our kids that can turn the cities more green, and that the trees that are planted by kids are growing better and they are well taken care of. It's something that in the phenology campaign we can quite well see how from the reactions, from what I hear from you teachers, that the kids, they really like the tree, that once they start observing it and taking care of it, they really take it as theirs, and they are really keen on taking care of the tree and protecting it. So that's really nice to hear also from you. And yeah, it's time for questions. So please, anyone, you can write us to the chat or unmute yourself and just ask Michal.
Guerrilla gardening idea. So funny.
Yeah, I can see that not only me likes the guerrilla gardening. In the chat, we also have commented that it's a nice idea. Michal, maybe I can, there's also a question if you could share your email later on. So if you could please
okay.
write your email. And there is a question from Bara. What time of the year is the best for tree planting?
In Europe, in Czech Republic, it's spring or autumn. And actually, it's better autumn because spring start being drier and drier, and on first moment, life on the space tree, it's better autumn now. I mean.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. There's one more question. Is there any sheet of experts that schools can contact? This is also something that would really interest me. Well, when school would like to know more about planting trees, I think this is meant by the question: who to contact, who to ask, or how to find someone who will help to school.
Some local gardeners, I mean, gardening center or maybe some people would growing around trees or plants. Some organization. It's difficult to say on other countries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Maybe this was a question from Slovakia, so maybe we can also, I don't know if we have any contacts, but we can.
Maybe it's international permaculture community. It's usually people would know how to growing plants and have now something about ecology and what is good for land.
We have one more question, Michal, to you, and it's related to moon phases. If the moon phase affects the moment that the tree is planted, if any specific moment of the moon cycle is good for planting trees.
Yeah. It's not a majority thing what is necessary to do for tree when you're planting. More interest, it's good soil around and trees would lose the leaves for winter. It's better to plant without the leaves. It's more interest that moon cycle, I mean.
Thank you, Michal. Actually, myself, I have one comment, something that I want to mention. As Michal was talking about the need of watering of the trees. There was this picture with the watering back around the newly planted tree. Just want to emphasize when it comes to the globe observation. So maybe some of you use such bags, but it's important to know if you do observation and at the time you water the tree, you should definitely mention it when entering the data. It's important to know for the people who work with your data afterwards. If you enter data into the globe database and other people come and see your data, they should be able to find out that the tree was watered, because it can or it will actually probably somehow influence the growing of leaves. So it's better not to water the tree that you are observing, but if you do it, then please mention it into the GLOW database when you enter the data. We have some more comments in the chat. So in Slovakia, there is a group focused on nature, and that can be helpful for planting trees. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's true.
And a comment from Sněžana that the soil is now wet, so it's raining a lot, so therefore the trees started to grow. The leaves started to grow. So I think it's one of the important factors for leaf growth is the moisture as well as the temperature. And there's one more question. Is it helpful to use all species of trees typical for the region if possible? For example, when it comes to fruit trees, such as apple trees?
Yeah, it's true. All species of fruit, it's really interesting to plant, or other trees what is origin in that land. But in Sindri city, it doesn't matter. There is a possible to use the tree from different part of nature. But when you planting something somewhere in the landscape, it's necessary to use the origin species. It's true. And all species, trees, it's really interesting because child now just apples from shops, from maybe from other side of world, and just golden delicious, and maybe just other three species, and old species fruits. It's different and very tasty, I mean.
Well, thank you, Michal. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So just if you have some last question, I will give one moment for that. Okay, I don't think so. I don't see any. So Michal, thank you very much for your presentation and for answering all the questions. And let's now move to the second presentation of today. It will be combined presentation of Premysl Stych and Natalia Kobliuk. They are both scientists from Faculty of Science from the Charles University in Prague. And they will talk about remote sensing and about the ways how we can observe the vegetation or the trees from distance, and show us how to work with Sentinel Hub tools. So I will give word to Premysl Stych, who I think will start.
Yeah, thank you for invitation to the workshop, and I'm going to share my presentation. So just give me. Yeah, I hope you can see it. So my name is Premysl Stych, and me and my colleague Natalia, we are from Charles University, and in our presentation we would like to present some tools and data source from satellites to be used in phenology, observing, monitoring, and detections of vegetation. So I hope that it will be useful for you to know about this data. And in the second part, Natalia will show you the practical way how to get to remote sensing data and how can be useful for detection of vegetation health, phenological in the all places in the world. So we are from Department of Applied Geoinformatics and Cartography, and our research and education is focused on geoinformatics, GIS, and as well as remote sensing data, but cartography and modern computation, geodatabases, and are in workflow and in our research, and as well in the education processes. So several words about Earth observation. Earth observations is about satellites, how satellites monitoring Earth, and there are several types of satellites, but I think most useful satellites are scanning in this world in the swath, and within some days or hours are able to scan all Earth with several bands in remote sensing data. So the basic principle is that reflected light, reflected energy, for example, from sun is detected by satellites, and from satellites is going the information to us, and we are processing this multispectral, multitemporal, and the information for some purposes, for example, for phenological monitoring or so on. So that's very important. This is that all surfaces have an individual type of reflections, and that's very important for detection of vegetations and analysis of vegetation. So second point is as well very important, that satellites are possible to scan and search Earth's vegetation out of with invisible range of energy that we are able to see, but as well in range, electromagnetic range out of visible, especially in infrared and microwaves. And for this point of view, we are able to see some secret things and phenomena if we using just eyes. So you can see that satellite is adjusted that scanning Earth in visible range, but as well out of visible range in infrared and sphere or microwaves. So that will be very important in the second part to know about these advantages. So, and this is very important for point of view detection or analysis of vegetation, because vegetations are very specific reflectants. So you can see that it's naturally reflected high, some peak in green color, but as well as they have very good reflected in near infrared band. So if you can, and this polarity, that you can see that it's low reflectance in red color and high reflectance in near infrared, that it's very important for detections and analysis of health of vegetation or in the time. So you can see that's what is practical things. That there is a picture of Jeseniki before and after disturbance of this forest. And if we using infrared band, you can see how visible is analyzed and see the places under disturbance, bark beetle invasion. So that is very, very good tool and very good information for vegetation detection. So, and last slide is going to explain vegetation indices. These indices will be used in the second part of this. These indices are based on the ratio of the some correlation between bands from satellites, and there is used information between different reflectance of the vegetation. For example, if the vegetation is healthy, the reflectance is very high in near infrared, and if vegetation is some spoil in under stress, this vegetation is not reflected too much. So, and this simple principle is how to say, is used in vegetation indices. And in phenology, we are able to use it because satellites are able to detect very in multi-temporal way. Each 5 days we have a picture about all the localities in the world. And if you calculate this vegetation indices in the time, for example during year, so you can see some phenology phases in the different plants. So you can, for example, know you can see some ndvi vegetation of grassland, that you can see some parallel or coniferous forest, and this is very, very important and very parallel, or you can see very correlated with in situ measurements, and that would be very good to use your data and together with remote sensing data, because that could be very, very nice to search how is possible to see from Earth, and how is possible to look at from the in situ there. So last slide is focused that you can see, for example, how is useful this indices, that you can see the forest, the health forest, and you can see that if you using indices, that there is no changes. But if the forest has been attacked by bark beetle, so you can see in time, so 5 years ago, so that you can see some stadium that it was health, and suddenly bark beetle attacked the forest, and indices really decreased rapidly. So that just for introductions and explain how is useful this multi-temporal, multispectral data for vegetation. And now please, Natalia, you can continue with practical thing. And if you would like to follow Natalia in Sentinel Hub, you can.
Hi everyone. Yeah, let's start exploring Sentinel Hub. I will share my screen second. I'm sorry. Okay, so I hope you hear me well and see my screen. Let's a little bit explore such a website which is called eobrowser. This website created by European Space Agency, and it can help you to analyze satellite data without downloading them. And there are a lot of tools which are really easy to implement, which you can use for analyzing trees in your area. So as Dr. Stych said previously, the sense of satellite capturing the Earth's surface is that sunlight falling onto Earth, and sensor on the satellite detect the reflected sunbeam. And as we know, different objects, I think you even noticed it in real life. For example, when you walk in a sunny day, you see that, for example, small lake can reflect sun like a mirror. And for example, forest totally absorb sun, so it doesn't look like a mirror in a sunny lake. On this website, you can find data from a lot of satellites, but the most usable is Sentinel-2. It's a satellite from European Space Agency and Landsat. This is two families of satellites. What mean families? It means there is not only one satellite, but a group of satellites, because they have they can operate only limited time. So each, for example, 10 years, they send a new one to the Earth's orbit. And the biggest difference of these two satellites is that Landsat from NASA operates already for more than 30 years. So if you want to make some analysis for really long time, it's better to use this satellite. But Sentinel-2 has information from 2013, but it has better resolution. What means resolution? If you imagine a photo of bad quality, you probably remember that if zooming it, you will see small squares. And this a picture consists of small squares, and this small square is called pixel. So if speaking about Sentinel-2, in 1 pixel of this image, you will find 10 meters of real ground, comparing to Landsat, where you can find 30 meters of real ground. So if you don't want to make analysis for last 30 years or 20 and so on, it's better to use Sentinel-2. So today we will practice with this satellite. I hope you received links for this website. If not, you just can Google eobrowser and open the first link. And in Czech Republic, we have one region which is called Šumava National Park, where we have problem with bark beetles. And if you don't know, bark beetles, it's a small insects which eat bark of the trees, and because of it, trees are dying, because trees can't live without bark. So let's find this area the same way you can find any area you are interested in, and you can put it here. For example, I'm looking for a small city which is called Quilda, and it's located on the territory of this national park. Here it is. And the same way you can, for example, if you found some interesting area in the Google Maps using Google satellites images, you can just copy coordinates and put it here and find the location. I don't understand. A second. Here it is. And on this website, there are a lot of tools available, but before you registered, and registration is really easy, these tools are limited, but you still can use the most important ones. So as we see, there are some forest stands, and for making analysis, and for showing, for searching for satellite images for area we are interested in, let's delimitate it. And this is a tool, this pencil here, with which you can draw borders of area in which is interesting for you. Yeah. Here it is. Let's imagine that we want to analyze this area, and now we are choosing Sentinel-2, and if you activate advanced search here, you can choose the level of data processing. What is the levels of data processing? when sunlight reflects from the Earth and sensor on a satellite detects it, it should come through all the layers of the atmosphere. And as we know, in atmosphere, there are some water molecules and some dust and so on. So this signal which satellite tries to detect little bit change during this trip through the atmosphere. So L1C data are without the correction of this atmosphere influence, but L2A data, where you can see blue box checked, they are atmospherically corrected. So from this data, scientists already removed the influence of all these water molecules and so on. So let's choose this type of data. And another important parameter, cloud coverage. Why it's important? If you can imagine, if some area covered by a lot of clouds, sunlight just can't reach this area. So if we use images with a lot of clouds, we just can't see any useful information. So let's filter the cloud coverage at least to 20%. Yeah, and here you can choose the time range, which is interesting for you. Let's take some, for example, last 5 years. So now is April 2025. Let's choose April 2016. So here you can choose a time range. And here there is also option filter by months. Why it can be interesting? Because if speaking about studying the phenology, you probably know that trees, not all trees are green, for example, during winter, and because of snow cover and so on, it's impossible to correctly calculate different values. So let's leave only those months where trees, let's say, are green. Yeah, so let's leave only months from May to August. And click search. And now we can see the list of all the images available for area we delimitate, this square. Let's see, let's check some images. For example, this one for 6 August 2020. For viewing this image, you just need to click visualize. And here we see image from satellite, Sentinel-2. And there are different, this image can be visualized in different colors. For example, this is two color combination of red, blue, and green channels. So this is how we see with our eyes, so visible range of electromagnetic spectrum. But for studying phenology, it's really useful to use ndvi index, about which Dr. Stych said before. If choosing this ndvi, you can see now that it's visualized. And here you can see some small description about this index. But what is important to know for us, that this index has values from -1 to 1, where 0 is just bare soil without anything. And everything up more than 0, it's some kind of vegetation, and more the index, the more dense and healthier trees we have in this area. And everything below 0, it's snow, water, ice, and so on. So not really important for studying phenology phases. And also, for not visualizing each image for each day, we can build a chart which will show us ndvi values for all the images we found. And for this purpose, you should use this button, statistical info. And here we see that, yeah, we will build a chart from ndvi. And here you can choose a time range for what you want to build this chart. Let's choose 5 years, and also cloud coverage. And as we discussed before, let's choose the smallest possible. And now we should wait a little bit till it will be built. And later, when it will be finished, here in down right corner will be a button download, and you can download this chart in a CSV format, and then build more beautiful or more understandable chart, or analyze this data in Excel, for example, or any other software. And as I said earlier, here you see that as this is piece of forest, here we see ndvi values from 0 to 1. And because it's still 13% of clouds, it's sometimes we can see 0 values, and probably this is because on this piece of area which we choose, on these images for these days, for example, here we see that this is image for 8 April 2020, here it's image for 5 February 2019, and so on. There were some clouds probably. This is why here we see 0, but for all other days, we see, for all other images, we see this chart. And as you see, sometimes here we have lower values, and then it's go up and then down and then up and then down. And this is connected, as you see, this minimal values are in winter months. This is because of phenology phases of trees. Yeah, so here is the tool with which you can analyze phenology of trees in some area. You can choose any park near your schools or in your cities and check what happened with trees. Also, if you register and it's free and login, you will be able to use 2 additional tools, make measurements. Here is the tool which make measurements of area and perimeter, and also one really nice tool which can help you create a small small animated visualization of the dynamic in this area. So here we click this button, which is called Create Time-Lapse Animation, and you just can choose area, months and days and time range which you want to visualize, and then you can do like a small video and download it, and it can be useful for showing people some dynamics of this area, to explain them why it's important to plant new trees here, for example, or to explain that something bad happens with trees in this area. I think that's all. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you very much, Premysl.
Yeah, so welcome. So maybe I will add some really information about this ndvi. Maybe for you would be useful that this index is very simple, and if you would like to explain the number, this is the range of ndvi's between 0 and 1, and if the how to say the valley is approaching 1, the highest valley, it means that the vegetation is healthy, it's in good, in high phenology, phase in how to say, vital vegetation, and if the index is lower in approaching, in decreasing, so that means that something happened with vegetation. It's under stress, or in health, health was attacked or decreasing. So that's quite nice and useful index, or for how to say, the measurement of vegetation, not just to be delimited where is the vegetation, but as well to search and analyze health of vegetation, qualitative. So it is important from point of view phenology.
So any questions are welcome. I will just note that this presentation, or this recording of this webinar, will be later on available at the campaign website. So in case that you will need to repeat some part of the explanation, you will have access to it.
Yeah, that's good. It's would be very good if you know some location around your town, or so. Please locate your landscape around you, and you can see how is changing during the year, and what changes happened, for example, in the last 5 years. Or for example, it's nice because Sentinel-2 data is since 2016 and 17 and 18, 16, 17 and 18. That was years of drought. That was really hot weather during summer. So you can see that it's very apparent and visible how this drought affected the vegetation. That, for example, ndvi in this year was quite lower than usual. So that's one idea, that you can look at your favorite vegetation and measure, for example, how climate changes affect or drought affected the health of vegetation.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
So first, thank you both, Przemek and Natalia, for this insight into your daily job. I believe that this is what you do, what you analyze, and what you teach to students also at university, right? And my question is, so when I see, or when you as a scientist, when you see these images and you work with this ndvi image, right? So you basically see that something has changed, right? The condition of trees, that if it goes up or down on that graph. So what is the next step? What do you need to do to find out why actually something has changed? What is behind this? Like if it's because of weather, or if it's because of insect. So what is the next step? What do you do to say really the cause of that change?
Unfortunately, we are still on that level of science development. When we detected some problem based on these images, for being sure why it's happened, we still need to go to the field and see the trees and touch them, and make pictures. And it's still the best way to find out, because for now, this is very developing field of science, but it's impossible to understand this problem just because from the satellite images. But this is really a useful tool because it covers all the globe, and you don't need to travel a lot to detect the problem. But for detecting the cause of this problem, you still should go to the field.
Yeah. I totally agree. combination of in situ measurements data with this. It's very good, and now that there is using how to say artificial intelligent systems of processing remote sensing data, and if we have a lot of data, enough data, that's these systems are able to be clever, more and more clever. So that's as well very good to be John. And from point of view interpretation, yeah, that's true. That's the next steps. It's to interpret this data. For example, in my presentation, that was some how to say the examples of our study, of our research, that from a long time series period, we really in detail in location we search the changing of indices in forest before and after, or before in time of bark beetle calamity and after bark beetle calamities. And that was very interesting that when we look at our picture, just RGB, our visible picture in the forest, there was no sign that bark beetle or it's already attacked this forest, but if we look at this picture from multispectral view, from satellite data, that was visible that already this forest suffered by bark beetle, and within some months this forest died. So that's very good. That's, for example, interpretation. If we know some range of valley, and we can detect forest, and that's open for us. For example, where could be danger, where could be endangered forest, and that's some of.
Okay, thank you.
And in phenology, maybe I would add that would be very good, for example, from long time to show, for example, if phenology, when phenology some phases started, that there is a hypothesis that some phenology started, it's how to say, it changing some breakpoint in phenology, start of phenology, and remote sensing or archive remote sensing data. It's very useful for it, and it's obvious that that there is how to say approaching to at the end the beginning of the phenology. So now we can see that, for example, if it used to be, for example, in April, and now from remote sensing data, it's obvious that under climate changes and growing of this starting of phenology is shift into, for example, in January and so on. So that as well good tool. Because that's very good that we have more than 30 years time archive, so that's as well to look at not just changing within the year but within decades.
So thank you very much for this more details, for the close explanation. And I'm checking chat. There are some comments, some thanks and greetings, but I don't see any more questions. So please, if anyone has more questions.
I would like to ask Alexander this moisture index on the Sentinel Hub. Whether it is based on, is it evaporation, or how is it connected with the moisture, with the water of the modifications of the forest?
Adriana, I'm afraid that there is some bad connection or some problem with your microphone. So please, can you maybe write? Yes, yes, thank you. We couldn't really understand. So let's wait for the question. So the question is about the moisture index. What are the data for moisture index based on?
Yeah, moisture index is a index based on one band. It is a middle infrared band that is very sensitive. That is sensitive for content of water in vegetation or in soil. So that's as well one advantages of satellite data. That's one band scanning the Earth in magnetic spectrum. That's the reflectance in this spectrums. It's very sensitive for content of water. So it is, so this moisture index is ratio between infrared and sphere data. So and this is extremely useful. Index is extremely useful because we are able to be provided information about soil moisture and content of and as well we can monitor some impacts of draw in this in vegetation or soil. So the conclusion, it is based on infrared bands. That's soil moisture. Yeah, Natalia, thank you for that. That is the detailed information in the chat.
So anyone interested can see more information in the link that is now in the chat.
Actually, I also wanted to add that if someone of you want more deeply study these questions, there are really a lot of information in the internet for all the levels of scientists, even for beginners. And there are a lot of webinars from European Space Agency and NASA on YouTube, really understandable, really easy for the beginners. So if you want to start doing some small analysis in Sentinel Hub or downloading images to your computer and processes it in some kind of software, which is free. There are a lot of different software. You can find a lot of different instructions and webinars really understandable on YouTube. You just, for example, if you want to study NDVI, you just can Google NDVI, and I assure you that first link in Google will be about NDVI, and the same with NDMI. And it's really interesting because without going somewhere, without spending time and money for trip, you can analyze some really far areas in your country and receive a lot of information for a really big period of time. And the most important that, as we discussed earlier, there are different parts of electromagnetic spectrum, and with our eyes we can see only visible range of this spectrum, but satellites are better than our eyes, so they can detect some information which you can detect with your eyes. For example, some values in short infrared range or thermal range of spectrum, and so on and so on. So it can be really interesting and useful to do it with, I don't know, school children during lessons, just to show them how combination of physics and geography can do really interesting thing for studying our planet. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe one additional, if you would like to be interested for some more workshop that is possible to be, how to say, more detail training. And as well as if you would like to analyze your in situ data, so for example, if you have some locations, so you can send up some coordinates, and if you will collecting data in, how to say, in situ data, then we can meet in autumn, or or at the end of year, and we can prepare for you some how to say, correlation between remote sensing data with your in situ data. That's as well could be maybe good idea, and for you maybe would be nice, because it would be data from your surroundings. So if you are interested, we can do it something like this.
This is definitely a very nice offer. Thank you for that. I think for the phenology campaign, this will be really a good opportunity to get farther in our school researches and to learn more about the trees and the landscape that we observe. So thank you very much for that. And I'm thinking we can maybe add some, as you were mentioning, the links and the recommended sources of data. Maybe we can add something to the together with the recording on the website, so that you have more information or good information easily available. Well, okay, so thank you once more for this interesting introduction to ndvi and to remote sensing. And let's move to our last part of the program, and I will give word to Bára Semeráková, who will tell us a bit about a new Globe Challenge, 2021 Community Trees Challenge, Science is Better Together, that actually starts today.
Okay. So, hi everyone, once again. You should be seeing the screen, the homepage of the Globe program now. And as you can see, we have some new announcements that are rotating on the website, on the homepage. And one of them, if you noticed, is also this one, the Community Trees Challenge, that is organized by NASA and by the Globe Observer app team. And I really recommend to check it out and to try it out. And it's starting today, actually, and it will go on for 1 month. So if we go there, here you will learn many more things. So as you can see, from 15 April to 15 May. And this is for schools, but not only for schools. This is also a good tool how to learn about trees for families or for any other group or place which is for learning, such as library, museum, botanical garden, or scout group. So all these different fans of trees, they can use the tools and the learning activities which are listed on this page. And you can see that the page is quite long. There's many things, many links to different videos or books and activities. But just to introduce it a little bit, I downloaded this kind of, they call it Community Trees Challenge Activity Tracker. And it looks like a tree with leaves where you have the overview of what you can do. So let me just switch to that one. So it looks like this. It's a PDF file that you can download from that page. And I will just make it bigger for you. Perhaps even like this. Yeah. And here you can see that it has 4 parts. So what you can do, you can learn about trees, you can observe trees, which means you can go outside and find some tree nearby your house. You can also create, you can be creative, and you can also engage either yourself or your friends or your family. So obviously, because you're part of the phenology campaign, I think you already know how to observe trees. What else you can do? You can also build your own clinometer and measure the height of the tree, or you can start a nature journal if you don't have one yet, and so on. Then you can learn through videos, books, and through the websites and different sources of information about trees. When it comes to creating, you can, for example, draw your own map, sketch the map of your ideal park or your ideal green place, how you would like to see the park which is in your city, for example, how it should look like. You can obviously do other things, which is, for example, to make some rhymes, to create a poem or a song. Or you can even make the tree cookie of your life, which means that you will mark different important milestones of your life in the tree cookie. Tree cookie is that if you see the tree which has been cut, right, you have these kind of rings which indicate the years of the life of the tree. So you can create one of those for yourself or your life or your grandparents' life, for example. That would be actually a bigger one than yours, perhaps. And you can engage, you can post what you do on social media, you can make a video, you can just talk about what you do within this challenge. There is a hashtag trees challenge that you can use if you are posting, and under this hashtag you will be able also to find the other posts or the other people who joined this challenge. And I really recommend you to see that page. I will just share the link to the chat and just explore it yourself on your own when you have a little bit time. Yeah, it's there. And obviously, if you don't have it yet, you can download the Globe Observer app, and you can go out for a couple of minutes or for hours and use this app to track either the tree height or to observe the land cover and many other things. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, or you can just study yourself what would be the best for you to do. Do we need to send that activities that we do? No, you don't have to send it to anybody. It's just for you. And if you want to show it to everybody, then I think the best thing is that you post it on social media, that you post it on your Facebook or Instagram, and you use this hashtag trees challenge, and that's it. But if you have something special that you want to show to the Globe community, I think you can always contact us, Lenka or us, if you really have something special to share with us. We will be always happy to see that, but it's not like compulsory to send it or submit it somewhere.
Yeah, definitely we will be interested to see it, so do not hesitate to share your outcomes with us. I think this is a really nice way, another way how to look at trees, so you can also create some art and other things. So especially for this time when many schools are closed and it's sometimes difficult to spend so much time with observing your tree as you maybe wanted. So this can be another good option, what you can do and how to stay connected with your tree and with nature.
Yeah, and I wanted to say two more things, that one thing, if the schools in your country are closed, right? This can be also a nice distance learning activity for your students. You can download that activity tree or the activity tracker, and you can provide it to them. And then during those 4 weeks, they can actually tick what they did already. So perhaps they can choose on their own what they want to do, right? If they want to make a poem, or if they want to read a book about trees, so they can choose, and then they can tell you what they completed. So that's also a nice idea. And the last thing that I wanted to show you was, I will show it on the, right on that page, that this activity tracker, this one leaflet I was showing, it was also translated to several languages. Well, most of them are not really for our region, like Chinese and Japanese and Korean, but we have also Russian here and Spanish. That can be useful perhaps for you. So if you prefer Russian or Spanish to English, you can download the same PDF file in those languages as well. And it's at the same page, right? If you go from the whole page of Globe through here, you will find the translations right here. So that's it.
Thank you, Bára. I think it's very nice new option. I just want to make sure that it's understood that this is not some kind of part or obligatory part of the phenology campaign. So you are very welcome to share your results with us. We will be happy to see them, but it's not something that you have to do. That's obligatory, or that we expect from you to do to get a badge or so on. So it's just for you. An option. Okay, so we have a bit time left, so maybe we can use it. If you have any questions, either to our speakers, to Michal, Premysl, Natalia, Bára, or to me, or if you have any questions in general about the campaign, that if there's maybe something unclear with the activities, or yeah, you have some questions to the campaign in general, please ask now.
Lenka, perhaps I will use the time just to mention, because I believe that this is the question that teachers ask quite often. It's about the badges. So, because I received the badges for this year from the designer. So I will just share it. So there are many questions about like how it works with the badges, right? So the school that meets the requirements, the criteria for either collaboration or for data entry will receive this kind of badge, as we call it. And this badge will be displayed on the Globe website on your school page in this contact information. So it will be there for everybody to see that. So you can, if you want to tell someone, for example, the director of your school, that you and your students, you got this badge for the phenology campaign this year, for example, in June or in May, when we will be giving the badges, you can just send them link to that page because it will be visible there. So that's how it works. And obviously the badges will be issued after the campaign end, after it's completed, because then Lenka can see what schools were the most active and what schools will get the badges. So the badges are basically for the active participation. And yeah, Lenka, you can add something if you want.
I think you said all the important information. So I'm also happy to see the badge because it's very new. So it's also first time for me to see it. So, and I look forward to adding it to your school's profile. So You will see it there, I think. Maybe I will use now also a bit time and invite you to the next webinars of the Phenology campaign. This is the second webinar of a spring campaign, and we will have 2 more. The closest one will be on May 6th, and this webinar will be focused on data, on how to work with your data, how to enter the data into the database, and how to visualize them, how to make graphs from your data from your observations. So this is the closer one. And then there will be 1 more webinar on June 2nd. This will be closing webinar of the campaign, and it will be focused on sharing. It will be like a school conference, let's say. So we will ask you for your presentation, for you to share your results and your experience. So I want to just now share it with you so that you can think about being involved in the webinar and presenting your projects. We will, of course, send you more information later on in a newsletter and through the discussion forum. So you will have closer information in time. You don't have to worry about it, but you can already start thinking about joining with the presentation, the last webinar. Okay. So I don't see any questions. So let's.
Yeah, here is one more question about the link from Anna Maria. Do you mean the link to the badge or? Yes. So as Bara explained, yeah.
I can show it. So it's like the badge will be, we will upload the badge to each school page of all the schools that get the badge, right? So I will show you just an example of how it works. So I can share this, or how you will find it. So I selected 1 school, right? And this is the Globe website, and each school has their own school page on the website, which looks like this, for example. It's always under the country you are from. So for example, if I would be, let me just show you, you'll see it like this. If you don't know how to get to your school page, right? You can always be at the home page. You can select the country you're from here from this list. I hope you can see it now, what I'm doing, that I'm not.
Yes, we can.
Okay, it takes some time, but you get to your country and then there is a list of schools, right? Like this is Czech Republic, and there are all the schools. There is also a map and the schools. So either you find your school on the map or you find it here on in the list. So once you have your school, you just click on it and you click on and you will get to this page of the school. So I selected 1 school, and here, this is the main homepage of your school. Here you cannot really see the badge, right? Here there are different things like what are your data sites, how many data you are sending and all that. But here in this About and Contacts, I clicked on this one, make it bigger, About and Contacts, right? Here you can see the badges. See, they have already badges from 2019 and badges for some other activities they did in Globe. So it will be here. So then if you just copy the link that you have here up in your browser, you can send it by email to anyone, or you can just do this share, right? You can share it on Facebook or in the email. So through this share, you will also get the link, or you can share it directly on social media. That's how you get it.
Mm-hmm. And as Bara mentioned, it will be there after the end of the campaign or in the end of the campaign. So, and I will also inform you that I gave the badge to your profile, so you will know when it's there. Okay, it seems that there are no more questions. for today. So I want to thank you all very much for being here with us, and to our speakers for introducing these new and interesting topics. And I hope you will have a great spring days and your observation will go well. If you need anything, if you have any questions or any doubts, do not hesitate to write to me or to Bara, to Dana. And yeah, so see you on May 6th at the next webinar. Until then, take care.